What's up guys, TheAmigoBoys here, and today I want to make a video guide of my Wind Ripper build called TheAmigoShotz. I'm gonna show you a showcase of the build in Standard League, but you should still be able to do this build in a Temp League pretty much, with some minor gear changes like not using legacy face breakers, but the build should still have around half the DPS, which should still be enough to clear all content in the game. So first of all, I want just to talk a little bit about some of the core stats of the build. The build can reach up to 7k life if you are using some rare items instead of like the boots here and so on. And the dodge chance goes up to, with full frenzy charges, if you're using dark ray vectors with +1 frenzy, you can get up to 64% dodge, as well as 5% from the Soul of Lunaris here if you've been hit recently. So that's 69% dodge chance and up to 45% spell dodge, as well as around almost up to 7k life, which is pretty fucking tanky, if I should say it myself. So yeah, as well as the clear speed being really good, and it can do all content in the game. I haven't tried Uber, but I suspect it can do that as well. I've done Shaper and all kinds of things like Guardians, etc. and maps. So I'll just do a quick map run, and then I'll come back and talk about like the general stuff like the skill tree. I'll be using a Queen of the Forest instead of the camps just for the map run, because it's gonna go a little bit faster. Alright, let's go. Oh yeah, another thing is, right now I'm using the barrage enchant, so the clear speed is not the best. But if I took the +2 tornado shot enchant on for like map clearing, the clear would be way better, because that really helps a lot with like clearing whole screens and stuff. Gonna run into the boss. There we go. The DPS was really good. The DPS is not that bad actually.
My mana is gone.
Yeah, I'm not gonna like full clear the map. I'm just gonna run this way and just see like where. And sorry about like if I stop, that's because of my mouse double clicking, because my mouse is broken, so yeah, it clicks instead of holding. Got a High Gardens map, and yeah, let's just go out here. Alright, so let's talk about the gear first. There's a little bit of variety in what gear you can use, but generally you want to use a Wind Ripper, of course. And then for the helmet slot, I would generally recommend using the Starconia's head, which gives life crit and attack speed, either with like the +2 tornado shot as I have here, or with +2 barrage. But I didn't have a +2 barrage one, so that's why I used Devotor's Devotion for a single target. And I've just been running Shaper, so that's why I used the barrage enchant here. But the Devotor's is also good if you want more movement speed. But if you like only care about movement speed and still want damage, I would probably use the Rats instead, because it gives 10% movement speed, but it has a lot of crit as well. But it's not that bad, to be honest. And then for the chest, you could either use like the Cam's Heart, which gives you most life, almost up to 7k, but you can also use a Queen of the Forest if you want to be faster, and it gives you a little bit of life and then resists as well. It gives you evasion, and if you use this chest, I would highly recommend using the Jade Flask as well, because the evasion will give you more movement speed, and just with these two flasks up, you'll be at 157, and that's not with frenzy charges. So with frenzy charges, it's over 200 movement speed, which is really good. Then for the quiver, the best quiver you can get is the Rigwell's Quills, but on a temp league you probably can't afford this or get this quiver, so then you would just want to use like a rare quiver instead, like this one. This is a legacy one, but just with up to 38 crit multi should do just fine. You can also use a drill neck if you want. If you spec into Pierce on the skill tree, then you will just travel this way instead of going this way right here, I would say. But yeah, for the jewelry you just want kind of weird added lightning and crit multi. This is a legacy one again since I'm in standard league, but you can do it pretty much just fine without legacy amulet. The DPS will be a little bit lower, but it shouldn't matter that much. And if you're just farming for the loots anyways, you would probably just want to use Hibiscus color, because that's gonna be really good for farming breaches and so on. For the rings, ideally you just want intelligence and life and wet, and then as much resist as you can get. You really want the intelligence since we are using the Ref aura, and it has a high intelligence requirement, and we don't get much from the skill tree, so that's why we want it on both of our rings if possible. This one also has a little bit strength, which helps us with the Chaos Heart, but we should be able to get enough strength since we are traveling for the Cyan Life Wheel, which we're picking up a lot of strength nodes on the way. This one gives 20, for example. For the gloves, I'm using legacy face breakers, but if you're not, you would just want to use either rare gloves, which would give you like 300 more life up to that, as well as probably with attack speed and resists, or Maligaro's gloves. And if you have Maligaro's gloves, like on a temp league or something, you either want +1 to gems or +1 to, or elemental weakness on hit. But bear in mind that if you use elemental weakness on hit, the curse will rewrite the assassin's mark that we have on our Herald of Ice, so I wouldn't actually recommend that for the power charge generation anyways. And then for the belt, just resists, wet and life. That's basically like the most important stats. If you can get flask mods as well, like reduced charges used or increased flask duration, that is also good as well. For the boots, I would either recommend using just the Dark Ray Vectors, or but only if you can get like the corruption with +1 frenzy charge. Without that, I would not recommend using these ones, and then I would just use rare boots instead with resist, life and movement speed. But they're really good, especially also because they give dodge, so I would definitely recommend them if you can get like the corruption on them. But I would not recommend them for lab running, as you change instance a lot and you won't be having your frenzy charges up all the time. But in map runs and stuff, I would definitely use these. For the flasks, I'm using a Vinctars, then you would use a Diamond Flask, and then a Quicksilver, then a Dying Sun if you can get it. You can also just use an Adsir's Promise or a Wise Oak instead. And then again, if you're not using Queen of the Forest, I would just put one of these flasks in instead, either the Wise Oak or the Adsir's Promise. But since I'm using the Queen of the Forest for clear speed purposes, I'm just putting the Evasion Flask in instead. And also, if you want a lot more fun, you could use a Headhunter, but it's really expensive, so you probably can't afford it. And yeah, the resist will be way worse, so you might even want to use a Wise Oak just to get more resist during flask effect if you're using it. Alright, so if we look just on the jewels right now, you can see that ideally you want life and crit multi and projectile damage. Those are the 3 key stats you want. And then if you can get some resist as well, that's also gonna be really good. Or attack speed with bows. Attack speed with bows is probably the best stat along with life. But see, since there's not that many mods that affect like our elemental attack, like for example if you get cold damage, that will only benefit half of our damage, or lightning. So you only really want projectile damage and crit multi, and then just attack speed with bows. But resists, since we are using so many unique items and such, you also want to get resists here. So I have a double resist roll on this one, and it has lightning damage and attack speed with bows. If I could get life on, that would be way better, but I sadly couldn't get that. Over here again, attack speed with bows. The physical damage is useless because it doesn't benefit us. Then we have projectile damage, crit multi. Then over here we have another one with live projectile damage and elemental resist. I exalted attack speed with swords, but that is also useless. So overall, the jewels can be pretty hard to get, and the good ones are really expensive. But if you just try to get a free mod jewel with projectile damage, resists, and live, or projectile damage, or attack speed with both resist and live, you should be good to go. But yeah, let's go over to the skill tree. The skill tree is just a basic one from the build guide. We start with live, then we go up here, grab some damage, and the main nodes you want to grab is like the Vial Pact. It's really important for the end game while leveling. I would not recommend it because life regen is so important. But yeah, some of the nodes that I would save for like end game is point blank. You don't want that in the start, where you are barely killing monsters, and also like phase acrobatics. You don't need that while leveling or while mapping, I would not say. So yeah, generally this is the skill tree. We are grabbing the Sign Life Wheel up here as well, and we in total have 4 jewel sockets, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Here, if you want to use like the Headhunter jewel, I can't remember what it's called, you would just grab the accuracy nodes and then you would use it here, because then there is 4 notables within the range. But yeah, just going over the gem links real quick. You want to use for your main skill, which can either be like Tornado Shot or Lightning Arrow or Ice Shot, whatever you want. You want like the main skill. I use Tornado Shot. Then you want to link it with Ice Bite, greater multiple projectiles, elemental damage with attacks, damage on full life, and innervate. Damage on full life is important, or because it gives that much damage, and we're almost always on full life since we have Vial Pact. The only way we're not on full life is if we're in degen or just right after taking a hit, but we will instantly be leeching back up to full life, and especially since we have that much dodge, we won't be taking like constantly hits, so we're gonna be most of the time on full life. And that's the same for the single target setup. We want damage on full life, elemental damage with attacks, Ice Bite, slower proj, barrage, and elemental focus. The colors are the same, so that's why if you use the Chaos Heart and we're using this Tornado Shot here for AoE clear, on single targets you just want to swap out 3 gems, Innervate with elemental focus, slower proj with GMP, and of course barrage for Tornado Shot. So then you will have your Tornado Shot set up right here, ready to go. But ideally, if you have a lot of accuracy, you could also just get another weapon swap here with another 6-link Ripper and Equipper, and then you can just like swap right here and identical gems just for the single target setup instead. But yeah, that is basically it, I think, for the guide. But thank you so much for watching, and if you want more questions or anything, there's a lot more content in the forum guide, and you probably will answer all your questions there. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.
Been a while out for the weekend. Me, myself, and I, my 3 friends. Nigga feel like talking and leaked in. ASAP niggas finna sneak in. Finger to the grilling. Me and my niggas drilling. You know we finna kill it. ASAP. Really? You don't really want that Glock, boy. You don't really wanna feel them shots, boy. You a B boy, I'm a black boy, I'm a D boy.